map, you guys are familiar with this. Now you know the summer solstice, the sun is making its small circuit around the north, and it works its way back out into the fall. On a rough draft, because I don't want to draw on my map, so let me explain this really quick. Okay, you have your North Pole here, and you have your south, which is the southern ice wall. Okay, now back out to its winter solstice. So therefore, when it says portals, it sounds like it's going backwards when it says that. When it says it goes from the 6th portal back to the 5th portal, and then back from the 5th portal to the 4th portal. So it's really simple. And it goes from portal 6 back to portal 5, and then from portal 5 back to portal 4. And then the nights get longer. The nights start getting longer because the sun is moving back out in its circuit. It's going back 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6. Half of the year, it goes from the winter into the spring, then into the summer. That's 6 months. Simple. All the portals basically are, or what they stand for. You got to remember, they're talking in ancient times. So, in the winter, the sun starts to move in, which is coming into the spring. So, it takes it 6 months to get to its inner circuit. Okay, and then when you hear it reversed in the book of Enoch, when it says, then the sun has made its circuit back out to the winter solstice, which is on its longer circuit. Okay, now, just in case you didn't understand what the portals meant, I'm going to explain it really quick. Now here I wanted to explain that to you guys in case you didn't understand what the portals meant. And the 30 days, you know, you got to remember a month. Most months are 30 days, 31 days, depending on which month you're speaking of. So it takes 6 months going in and 6 months coming back. In the book of Enoch, when it says that the sun goes from the second portal into the first portal into the second, and then from the second into the third, well, it's really simple. All the portals basically are, or what they stand for.
Let's get started. I want to get started off by giving thanks to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua, Baruch Ata Yahweh, Baruch Ata Yahushua. And I also want to give honors and thanks to the prophets and the elders that have been pushing this truth for a mighty long time to the four corners. And I want to thank the Ak and Akwas that have been listening and learning, supporting the truth, pushing and learning. So the lesson today we're going to be, just like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about Hebrew cosmology. And that word NASA, which means to deceive. And also, I'll put in another excerpt in the PowerPoint. There's a deeper understanding to that word NASA because it's used in different contexts and different meanings. And I break it down a little bit more in the PowerPoint. So I'll just let y'all look at it there. But basically, what we're going to do is we're just basically going to go over a couple of verses throughout the Bible that basically pertain to the cosmology of the earth and interpretation of the earth, and how people have been tricked or duped out of believing that this ball-shaped earth is the original thing when they have taken you away from the original thing, which is the Hebrew cosmology is just I don't want to say flat, but basically the plane shape, because there are hills and valleys which makes the flat or the plane existence go up and down in different heights and lows. That's why you got sea level and all this and that. That's why you have some valleys, you have some hilltops. But for the most of all, it's basically a flat interpretation. And I'm going to get started off by just getting everybody understanding that the earth was created before the sun or the moon. So just like it said, just like a lot of scientists like to say, they like to say that the sun was here before the earth. And they said the sun is this or that. But we get it here in the Bible to understand that Yahweh made the sun. He made the sun and the moon after he made the earth, because the earth was dwelling with darkness. It was void. It was just there. So I'm going to jump to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And the earth was without form, void, darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Yahweh moved upon it in the face of the waters. So just like that, it said it was darkness without void. So there was no light, there was no moonlight, there was nothing. It was just Yahweh. He was just moving upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh said, let there be light, and there was light. And Yahweh saw the light, and it was good. And he divided the light up from darkness. So that's where you get that night and day aspect. And Yahweh called the light day, and he called the darkness night. And the evening and the morning was the first day. So basically, letting you know the cycle. So you have 12 hours light, 12 hours darkness. Then you have next day. And Yahweh said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So just like I said, there's a firmament. And if we look up that word firmament, you look it up, it's just like a dome, or it's like a penetrable seal. And if you ever listen to them talk about it, they allude to this dome or this firmament all the time because it's something they can't get past. It's something like a barrier. Just like they try to say there are certain like Orion radiation belts that we have there. They quote unquote say that we have around the Earth that they can't get past, and they kind of tie this to the firmament. And then verse 8, and God and Yahweh called the firmament heaven, and he called the evening and the morning were the second day, and the evening were the morning the third day. And Yahweh said, let there be light, and in the firmament above the heaven to divide the day and the night. And let there be for signs of seasons, for signs of years, and for days. And 15, let there be lights for the firmament of heaven, and give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Yahweh made two great lights, greater than the light to rule day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. So basically, the greater light they said was there to rule the day. He's talking about the sun. That's what we see in the sun time that lights up the day, that helps us to see during the day so we can get things done like work and things like that. And he had the lesser light, which is the moon. The moonlight, you still have light at night, but it's not as bright, and you don't have, your visibility is not as pure. So that's what he's talking about, the lesser light. And the stars is what you see in between, At night you see different light shine. That's what he's talking about, the stars. Celestials. And Yahweh set the firmament of the heaven and give it light upon the earth. So basically the stars and the moon was supposed to give light upon the earth, shine light at night. And this is supposed to be a remembrance of Yahweh. And 18, to rule over the day over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh saw it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So basically, that's just letting everybody know that creation, where everybody says you have this Big Bang theory, all this, no, it's basically that's creation right there, and it's saying that the earth was already here before there was light, or before there was a such thing of a sun. And then another thing I want to get on is a lot of people talk about in science, they always want to use science and then attach it to the Bible, which that has fallacies. You can't do that. So another thing is that they say that the universe is always expanding. Which if we understand and read the Bible, we're reading Genesis chapter 2 and 1. Thus the heavens and the earth are finished, and all the hosts of them. So basically, Yahweh has finished all this. So for somebody to say that the universe is always expanding, Genesis 2 and 1 right there tells us that it's not, that he finished. And that's why he rested. So why would he rest if he didn't finish? He would continue. So I'm saying that everything about the science is basically blasphemous to the Most High. So you just gotta understand that it's counterintuitive. Well, and I'll let Brother Darian take over.
All right, so the part I'm going to be talking about is how the earth measurements is unknown. So I'm going to jump to Job 38 and 4. And it says, where hast thou, when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Verse 5, who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who hath stretched the line upon it? So basically what he's saying is like, the only person that knows the ins and outs of the earth is the Most High. There's nobody above him. He is the one and only. Basically what he's saying. So Job 38-18, as thou perceive the breadth of the earth, declare if thou knowest it all. He reiterates it on again. Same thing in the Jeremiah, which is 31 and 37, and it says, "Thus saith Yahweh, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Yahweh." So basically saying it's impossible. So that answers two questions, basically. One is that he never casted off his people. That's one thing, which he would never do, which is what he's saying. It's two.
Exactly.
The only person that knows the measurements of heaven above and below is the Most High, because he created it. So nobody else can tell him or know anything above him, because he's the one who created it. Proverbs 25 and 3, the heaven for height and the earth for depth, and the heart of kings is unsearchable. So there you go. He's telling you again, nobody knows the measurements of heaven from the height and the earth for depth. So when people are telling you, oh, the earth is this tall or it's this wide, and the deepest you can go in the earth is this deep and things like that, they're just guessing. They're estimating. They don't know. And I'm going to let Brother Paris talk about the shape of it.
All right, exactly. So not a lot of things people get misinterpreted that it's not a ball. It's actually like a disc shape. So I'm gonna jump into Isaiah 40 and 22. It is that it sits upon a circle of the earth. So it says it right there. It sits upon a circle of the earth. So it's very plain and clear. A circle is not a sphere. A sphere has a circle allusion to it, but it's not a sphere. But we understand what a circle is, and the inhabitants thereof are grasshoppers, and they stretch it out into the heavens as the curtains and spread them out into the tent and dwell in. So basically, he's talking about all the inhabitants. They dwell out in the tent. They're talking about the firmament that covers. In Job 38 and 13, that they might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might shake them out. And in 14, that it is clay that seals, that it is standing as a garment. So basically, it's talking about, again, it's letting you know that the ends of the earth. So for somebody to understand this in a aspect, a circle, you can see ends of a circle. So if something like, just like he says, we're going to get it earlier, understanding is he calls the earth his footstool. If you have a perch seat that you sit above the earth and you can see as the footstool, you can see the ends of the circle. So the Most High, he can see the ends of the circle. He holds the ends of the circle. So he understands. He understands so he can shake the wicked out of it. So that's that perception he has. That's how he get the understanding that it's not a ball interpretation. That if he sees the ends of the earth and that interpretation, he can shake it out of. It's not a ball. It's an actual circle. Just like he reiterated in Isaiah 40 and 22. And another thing we want to get into is that a flat plane cannot exist on a ball surface. Only a flat surface can, that's what Yahushua stood on. And to get a better understanding that, I'm going to get to Matthew 4. And a lot of people read this, but they don't get an understanding of what was really said and what was going on. And this is, if we get an understanding of what was happening in Matthew 4, this is when Yahushua was tempted by Satan himself. And Satan tried to promise him the world himself, which Yahushua understanding that he couldn't promise him something like that because he didn't possess that. He only had the illusion of it. Matthew 4 and 6. And it says unto him, if thou be the son of Yahweh, cast himself down, for it is written, he shall give us his angels in charge concerning thee. With the hands they shall bear thee up, lest thee any time to dash the foot against a stone. 7. Yahweh shall tell unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt Yahweh thy power. Matthew 8. Again the devil taketh him up an exceedingly high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. So if Satan had took him on one mountain, and for him to see all the glories of the world, for him to see every kingdom and every nation from one mountain, you got to understand that. And if you get an understanding of depth perception and how the 27 miles out, that it drops every mile, so you can't see everything. 27 miles out, it drops a mile, so your perception is going to get distorted. So if you understand that Yahushua took it up that high and he was to see it, that it has to be a flat, plain surface. You got to understand that it wouldn't be possible to see something like that on a ball interpretation. That's just getting a better understanding. It's just plain as day in the Bible right there. And another understanding I want to get is Luke 6 and 17. And he came down with them and stood in the plain. Like I said, plain, simple. And accompanied of his disciples and a great multitude of his people out of out of all of Judea and Jerusalem, for the sea of the coast of Tyre and Sidon, which came here with him and healed of their diseases. So again, he's talking about came to a plain, and just again reiterating ourselves, he's not talking about, yes, this earth interpretation is a flat plane interpretation. Yes, that's what interpretation again. If you read the Bible and you follow the Bible, and you say you're Hebrew Israelite, or you say whatever you want to follow the Bible, then it's plain as day that he's telling you that the interpretation of the earth is flat plane. This is plain as day. That's what we're trying to get from. But I'll let Brother Darren take over and give him the script.
All right, so the 2 points I'm going to touch on is how the earth has pillars and it hangs on nothing. And then I'm going to also talk about how the earth has a face. So about the pillars, 1 Samuel 2:8, he raised up the poor out of the dust and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. Job 9:6-7, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. 7, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars. Job 26:7, he stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. And the last one, Psalm 75:3, the earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it, Salah. So that right there is giving you instances about how the earth has pillars and it hangs on nothing. To talk about how the earth has a face, geometrically flat surface, I'm going to jump to Genesis 1:29, and it said, and Yahweh said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree is in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed to you, it shall be for meat. So if it has a face, it can't be a sphere or like a ball. A face is more of like a flat surface. If you understand geometry, then you understand like which people have to understand. It has to be flat. It's a flat surface. Just like how he's talking about how the Hamashiach was on a mountain and he could see everything. It's flat. Especially if you've been in a plane, then you understand when you're in a plane and you're looking down, it doesn't even have like a circular type of thing. It's more of like a flat surface when you're looking at space and things like that. If that was the case, then if you had the map of the earth, then it would be different. Which if everybody understands the actual face of the earth, look at the what is that, United Nations sign? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the true representation of the earth.
And that's why they use it.
Exactly. Genesis 4:14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Genesis 6:1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Genesis 6:7. And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing and the fowls of the air, for it repents with me that I have made them. Genesis 7:3. Fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. So I can keep going on and on, because it's a lot of verses that points out how, like the faces of the earth and things like that. But I'm going to let Brother Paris go more into detail, explaining about the paths, how they are straight and not curved.
So get an understanding of the path is not straight and not curved. Just like if you understand plane routes, they make a lot of stops, and people don't. And I have and in the PowerPoint it has a breakdown of plane routes and how they make certain stops. They can't just fly straight. Like if you want to take a plane route from here straight to China, you couldn't just fly straight there. You wouldn't. Number one, you wouldn't have enough gas. And number two, the route wouldn't make sense for you to make. You wouldn't make it that way, because there's a lot of air coverage you can't go through, and you can't fly over a lot of things. And the way the earth is really represented, you can't just fly that way, because if it was the ball earth, you could just fly around it. But you have to take a lot of straight paths, because that's how the earth is. That's how it's oriented. Just like highways. Highways, odd numbers, they go north and south. Even numbers, they go east and west. So if you just understand that even the highways from the plains, they all go from north, south, straight paths, north, south, east, west, straight paths. And I'm gonna get into 1 Samuel 6:12. And the king took it to the straight way, of the way of the Beshemith, and went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned aside to the right hand, or turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And the lords of the Philistines went after them unto the border of Beshemith. And just like it's saying, just like he gave you a pathway, you gotta go straight. Just interpretation. Anywhere the Most High was telling him to go, he'd always tell him to take a straight path, don't deviate from it, because this is the interpretation of the earth. He knew how the land was laid out, so he understood that straight paths that made more sense than if a ball earth, you would have to curve around a lot of things. You understand what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't make sense. Not interpreted how he's saying it. In Psalms 5:8. And lead me, O Yahweh, to the righteousness, because the enemies make thy straight path before my face. So again, then you know, straight path. And then another verse I want to get. Another thing I want to get is right here. There's a lot of people have interpretations that they say water is really not flat. They'll say it just seems flat until it curves the horizon or out of our vision, our perception.
What?
Well, right? Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. And they say we have a vanishing point. All our eyes have a vanishing point because we can't see forever. So
Right.
they say once we get to our vanishing point, that's when the curvature starts.
But what about people who travel across the world?
Look, I don't understand it either, but that's what people say. That's what they say. That's what the scientists say. That's why they say we can't perceive curvature. But I'm gonna get an understanding from the Most High what the Bible says. Just like it says, water is on a flat surface, and it says in Job 37:10, and the breath of the haue, frost is given, and the breath of the water is straight. It's simple right there. I mean, it gets pretty straightforward. I'll let Brother Darren take it over, and you'll get a better understanding of the interpretation of earth through earthquakes and how Yahweh makes the earth tremble.
All right, so about the earthquakes, so I'm gonna start on 2 Samuel. I'm gonna read chapter 22 and verse 8, and it says, "Then the earth shook and trembled; the foundations of heaven moved and shook, because he was wroth." Isaiah 13:13. "Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh, Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger." So those two right there is explaining how, like, he shook the earth and it trembled, and the foundations of heaven moved and shook. Isaiah 13:13 basically talks about the same thing when you say he shake the heavens. So like up where he's at, he shake the heavens and the earth, and it moved out of her place. Revelation 6:12, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." Verse 13, "And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind." So basically, it's like I'm going to get into my next point. The earth is fixed and unmovable unless the Most High does it. So that if you took the picture of like what it's looking like now, a lot of people think the stars are on the outside, but you got to understand we're like in a snow globe basically.
Mm-hmm.
So if like what NASA says, we're surrounded by stars, how are you going to have stars fall onto Earth if it's like basically surrounding? If you're in a globe, then that means nothing around it. Does that make sense? Do people understand? Especially when he talks about when he did the firmament, he took it out of the waters.
Yeah.
So a lot of people need to just reread Genesis again, because some stuff not adding up. Just like you talked about, did you talk about in the beginning the understanding of NASA? And things like that. Yeah, like.
Yeah, and I got a deeper breakdown into that on the PowerPoint that I want people to look at. But yeah, it's a lot to it, man.
it's a lot of
And
holes in their stories, and it's ridiculous.
yes,
But
and not just the Bible, and just not just using the Bible and Yahweh's word, but actually their fallacies in their own work that people have pointed out that I have in the PowerPoint that they'll look at, just like different Operation High Jump. They have different operations that they did that they'll let you know that they know that there's certain boundaries that it's not supposed to go past, and they know they haven't went past certain boundaries, and they know that there's certain pictures that they show to the ball Earth they're fake or CGI pictures. They're not real pictures. But I'll let you continue.
all right, so I'm gonna talk about how the earth is fixed and unmovable, and I'm gonna the first verse is First Chronicles 16:30, and it says, "He has fixed the earth firm, immovable." Hey, I would just use that verse straight. Hey, that's all you need to say right there.
Nah, you say.
Keep going. Psalm 93:1, it says, "Thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm." Once again, Psalms 96:10, "He has fixed the earth firm, immovable." So Psalms 104:5, it says, "Thou didst fix the earth on its foundation so that it can never be shaken." So like it says, so the only person that can shake it is the Most High. That's why he talks about what's the verses when he talks about judgment with earthquakes and things like that. I gotta pick up the verses for it. If you can find it for me before we end, I'll probably find it. I'll probably
I know you're talking about.
add on to it. Yeah. Then Isaiah 45:18, "Who made the earth and fashioned it, and himself fixed it fast." So those right there, I could have stopped at the first two, to be honest. But you know, it's always good to have more ammunition in your arsenal. So that's good enough. We gave you 5, and we can give more to talk about it. But we just want to get the point across. I'm gonna pass it to Brother Paris so he can talk about how how a lot of people need to take more pride in these scriptures, because the scriptures hold weight. Like, this world has made it to where it doesn't hold weight, and people need to understand, the Most High doesn't lie. Whatever he says, it goes. He created everything, all. But go ahead, man.
So another thing I want to touch on is just understanding is be still and know that I am Yahweh power. That Yahweh, he's gonna teach us. He's gonna teach us the right thing, man. And if you go to this world, bro, they're gonna lead you astray. And man, they have a lot of folly in them, bro. They're not gonna teach you the right thing when it comes to just living right. They're not gonna teach you with this money situation. They're not gonna try to help you in a lot of things, man. And it's just trying to corrupt your soul, man. They're just trying to take from you. So we gotta get our understanding from the Bible and stop trying to use these other avenues to get understanding. And our science and everything comes from the Bible first, comes from Yahweh first. Everything comes from Yahweh, and that's how we get a better understanding of the earth. Who's gonna know the science of the earth better than him? You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna understand the boundaries and the limits of the earth better than him? That's how we get the best science. Not trying to figure out yourself and do a whole bunch of experiments that go wrong. So that's how you do the opposite. That's when you're going off. So I'm gonna do Psalms 46:8. "Come behold the works of Yahweh, for the desolation have made it in the earth, and he have making the war cease unto the end of the earth." So again, there are ends. He sees the ends of the earth. We can't stand, but he sees it. He breaketh the bow.
Fix your connection. It's like glitchy.
I'm gonna start again from the top. In Psalms 46:8, "And come behold the works of the Lord, and what desolation he hath made in the earth." 9, "And he maketh wars and ceaseth unto them to end the earth. And he breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in asunder, and burneth the chariot in the fire." And 10, "Be still and know that I am Yahweh, and I will exalt among the heathen, and I will exalt in the earth." And 11, "The Lord of hosts with us, thy power of Jacob is our refuge, Salah." So again, just like I'm saying, like, he's our refuge, he's our understanding, he's what we have to lean on and what we have to return to it in this time. Just like he says, in time of wisdom and understanding will be, wisdom and understanding. That's what we need, and we get that from Yahweh. And another thing I want to touch on is he talks about the waters and how geometrically it has a flat surface. And I'm going to jump to Genesis 1 and 2. And the earth was, just like I said at the beginning, the earth was made without form. And Yahweh, he was over the face of the deep. We know the face of the deep, he's talking about the water. And just to get it some more ammunition for us, I'm going to jump to Job 38 and 30. And the waters are hid with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. So if you're calling something the face, it's just like a coin. It's like a coin. A coin has a face, it has a head side, it has a tail side. So the interpretation of it is just like a circle. So that's what he's comparing it to. Something that has a face side, it has two sides, has one side and the other side. So anytime he's talking about face, that's what he's talking about. And I'm gonna get that understanding again with the sky. He does the same thing referring to the sky. And we understand the sky has a face side. The face side is the only thing we're gonna ever see because we're always looking up. You know what I'm saying? We're looking up, so we only see the face side. And I'm gonna get that from understanding from that from Matthew 16 and 3. And in the morning it will be a foul weather today. For the sky is red, Lauren, and oh, you hypocrites. You can discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. So again, even though this is pertaining to deeper meaning, talking about the signs of the time, but if you're talking about everybody can see and discern the face of the sky and look at the face of the sky and see the wonders and what's going on, you gotta understand the interpretation of what you're really looking at. Yahweh's looking at the backside because he's the one that's working everything. He's behind the curtain. Y'all looking at the face side like a TV screen, and you seeing what he's presenting. If you get to understand like a TV, then you understand how interpretation really works, and it's not a ball-shaped earth spinning around the black dark existence. All that is just fallacy. It's just fake. It's not. It doesn't have any real light. Yeah, it wouldn't be any light. Like, where is the light coming from? You know. And to get a better understanding of this and how the earth has ends, I'll let Brother Darren take over on that.
All right, so I'm going to jump in Deuteronomy 28 and 49. And it says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagles fleeth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. So what he's telling you is from the other end of the earth. And what he's talking about is Esau Edom, with the eagle. Talking about Obadiah 1 and 4, if you want to connect that part. Deuteronomy 28, 64, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So he give you another instance about the ends of the earth, but this is also talking about how people worship Christianity with their wood, and stone example would be like Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy 33 and 17. His glory is like the firstling of the bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. 1 Samuel 2 and 10. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm going to read one more. He directed it under the whole heaven, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth. So I can keep going and give you more instances and things like that, but I want you to get the point that, that the earth is fixed. There is an end of the earth, but we just don't know the measurements of it. So, like Esau Edom, they like to just come up with lies. They'll give you one truth and tell you two lies, and they have to continue those lies, or else it'll all fall apart. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, and I'm gonna touch into this, like Brother Darren said earlier, the order of creation, which we know that it talks about. It provides that story in Genesis, which I talked about earlier, in Genesis 1 and 2. And the first key to it is the cosmology is the order of creation, which makes no sense if you talk about it by the conventional perspective of the ball Earth. But it makes perfect logical sense if you talk about the point of view with the flat Earth or the circle point of view. The Earth was created in the first day, and it was made without form and void, just like it says in Genesis 1 and 2. And on the second day, a bolt, the firmament of the King James Version, which was created and divided the waters. You guys get to understand that word firmament or bolt. You got to look that word up and understand that bolt or that firmament is like a dome And just like you look at the Masonic, just like you look at the Masonic symbols, and they even tell on themselves where they have the arches. The arches are the same thing that interprets as domes. It's all the same thing symbolizing it. And that's what they're talking about. And that vault or the dome, that's where they talk about. That's where above that. That's where they talk about the heaven or the stars or the moon. That's where they talk about where that's at. And that vault of heaven, that's what I'm gonna get into. The vault of heaven is a crucial concept. That word firmament appears in the King James Version, the Old Testament, 17 times. In each case, it was translated in the Hebrew word to Rukayah, which is meant a visible vault of the sky. That word Rukayah comes from Rukwa, meaning beaten out. In ancient times, brass objects were either cast in a form or required to be beaten out. Just like you understand, it's like you have a brass object that you're trying to mold and it's hot. You got to beat
like
it
when you
out and
chisel
mold it and
something.
shape it. Yeah, and shape it. That's what the Most High was doing when he made the firmament or dome. He had to cast it and chisel it out and form it against for the earth. That's what it pertains to in Genesis. And just like as a good craftsman could beat a lump of cast brass to a thin bowl, so can Yahweh, just like it says in Job's 37:18. And just to get a better understanding of this, we're going to talk about like how he talks about how the heavens are spread out. And if you want to understand the heavens in Hebrew, the word for heavens is shemayim. In Job 9:8, he by himself is spread out of the heavens. You get to understand it, spread out heavens. You understand the heavens are spread out. He spread them out over the earth. So that's our interpretation. Like I said, if you get to understand our interpretation is TV interpretation. So we see front side, face side, and Yahweh is behind where we see the firmament.
Like a bird's eye view.
Yeah, like a bird's eye perch view. Psalms 19:1. And the heavens tell out the glory of Yahweh. The vault of the heaven reveals the handiwork. So again, so he just said, it says the vault. He's talking about again, but you have to read the King James Version to get these understanding of these words, and you pull them out, and you'll get an understanding of what this is talking about. But when you read the NIV or when you go off and you read or another version, sometimes they take these words out and they make them and they put another word in to cause confusion. You know what I'm saying? They just put earth. It's like they've been indoctrinating this whole globe thing since the 1800s. Yeah, and it's just a theory. And if you understand what a theory is just a theory. It's not based on any facts. And I get one more. In Isaiah 48:13, and with my right hand I formed the expanse of the sky. And that word sky in Isaiah it is shemayim, which is the heavens. And if these verses are about an illusion of the vault, then we understand that shemayim from shemai is just the root meaning of lofty. It literally means the sky. We're talking about the heavens. So again, just like we're talking about, he stretched the heavens. Just like I read in Genesis 1 and 2, read all the way down First Genesis. You can read it down again to get an understanding, like Brother Darian said, to get a better understanding of how Yahweh formed the earth and the steps to it. Like I said, he formed the earth first. Then he had the sun, the moon. Then he formed the day and the night and the stars. That's how he formed it, and that's how the truth is. But other people will go to that BS interpretation of what NASA tells you or what they have been forced upon. And I will let Brother Darren close it out, and you'll get a better understanding of the cosmos.
So just like how we talking about the picture of the cosmos, which is that word Rakaya, it appears also in Ezekiel 5 times. 4 times in the first chapter, verses 22 through 26, and then again in chapter 10, verse 1. So basically, in each case, the context requires a literal vault or dome. The vault appears above the living creatures, and it glitters like a sheet of ice. And then above the vault is a throne of sapphire. seated on the throne is a form in human likeness, which is radiant and like the appearance of the glory of the Lord. In short, Ezekiel saw basically what Ezekiel was saying and picturing, which he wrote in a poetic way, is he just saw a vision of Yahweh sitting on his throne on the vault of heaven, as described in Isaiah 40 and 22. So basically, what you got to understand is all the prophets, well, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, they all got the same vision. One might have got something different than the other, but it's all the same method of it. They just wrote it in a poetic way, which I've talked about many times. So more depth on the shape of the earth, disregarding the dome, the central flatness of the earth, the surface is required by verses like Daniel 4, 10, and 11. Like in Daniel, when the king saw the tree of great height at the center of the earth, reaching with its top to the sky and visible to the earth's farthest bounds, if the earth was flat, a tall tree would be visible to the earth's farthest bounds. So like that's clear as day. So if the earth wasn't flat, we wouldn't be able to like see it at all, because if we're far away, then you would have that curve, like the scientists say. But if it's flat, then it can see the farthest bounds. Just like we used the example with Hamashiach and Satan, when he took him on a high mountain and he was able to see it. Just like Revelation 1 and 7, which is another key point when it says, "Behold, he is coming with the clouds; every eye shall see him." Well, that means it has to be flat. If everybody can see him and everybody will see him, the earth has to be flat. And he tells you from one end of the earth from one end to the other, you're gonna see like clouds of lightning and such. And to touch on celestial bodies a little bit, the Hebrews considered the celestial bodies relatively small. So in Genesis, the creation story indicates the size and importance of the earth relative to the celestial bodies in two ways. So first, by the order of creation, and then second, by their position and relationship. So they had to be small to fit inside the vault of heaven. Small size is also implied by Joshua 10 and 12. Joshua, right? Yeah, Joshua chapter 10, verse 12, which says, like, the sun stood still in Gibeon, and the moon in the vale of Ajalon. So basically, you're getting more info about, about the sun. Like, how can the sun stand still? See what I'm saying? So the reference the scientists give you is, like I said, it's so many holes, and we could have made this live longer as such, but that's just the basis of the thing. And Brother Paris said he's going to make a PowerPoint, or put up a PowerPoint, to go into depth about more details on how the earth is flat. But what you got to understand is, all the scriptures hold weight, and you got to understand that this earth doesn't really give the Most High the credit that he deserves. So even when you have those falsified Christians, those ones that's off of it, they say they believe in scripture, but they believe in what NASA is saying, or they believe in this and that, because they don't understand the enemy. They only understand the enemy from like this made up false way. So they're not doing nothing but confusing themselves. But that was what we wanted to get out, and for people to understand. I mean, it's a big deal, but at the same time, we shouldn't be arguing about it. But we felt like we should have made this video a long time ago, so that people can stop arguing and complaining about how the earth is flat and things like that. We just gave you tons of scripture to go against with it, and we gave you multiple evidence and examples of it. You got anything else to say, Brother Paris?
No, man. Just check out the PowerPoint, man. That has more lofty evidence. So if anybody else needs some more info, man, it's out there. Links and everything.
All right, before we leave, we want to give all praises, power, glory, and thanks to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders, the prophets, the apostles, the wise men, and our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are out here pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and freedom to do so, doing the best that they can to uphold the law, statutes, and holidays. To them we say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Wa Shalom.
Shalom.
Blade. Ready to die.
I was born ready, motherfucker.
Of the blood was sent, unleash the beast within. I walk around with the strength of 100 men. Two best to run before I count to 10. Blood dripping from my canine like a fountain pen. It seems I've been asleep for 1,000 years. The way my world has changed.
Look at his shadow here. It's on his right, or our right, which means that the sun would be to the left. Now here's a pan to the right. This is not edited or spliced. The camera is just panning to the right, but now his shadow is straight ahead, or rather about 1 o'clock. Get a little zoom here. He does a little dance. Now he starts moving again. We pan to the right, and his shadow is now on the left. This is what the French call impossible. It is a total joke. It is a fraud. If you believe that man has walked on the moon, how? Why? It is the most insane belief that any rational thinking human being can have. It's evidence that you've turned your brain over to the Neil deGrasse's, the Bill Nyes, and the other liars like Sergei Rosansky.